Hi guys, Annala Mooke here, and today we're going to be reading, you know what I mean, The Hobbit, or There and Back Again by J.R.R. Tolkien. Here we are, and we continue. Gandalf, in the meantime, was still standing outside the door and laughing long but quietly. After a while he stepped up and with the spike of his staff scratched a queer sign on the Hobbit's beautiful green front door. Then he strode away, just about the time when Bilbo was finishing his second cake and beginning to think that he had escaped adventures very well. The next day he had almost forgotten about Gandalf. He didn't remember things very well, unless he put them down in his engagement tablet, like this: Gandalf tea Wednesday. Yesterday he had been too flustered to do anything of that kind. Just before tea time there came a tremendous ring on the front doorbell, and then he remembered. He rushed and put on the kettle and put out another cup and saucer and an extra cake or two, and ran to the door. "I am so sorry to keep you waiting," he was going to say when he saw that it was not Gandalf at all. It was a dwarf, with a blue beard tucked into a golden belt, and very bright eyes under his dark green hood. As soon as the door was opened, he pushed inside just as if he had been expected. He hung his hooded cloak on the nearest peg, and "Dalin, at your service," he said, with a low bow. "Bilbo Baggins, at yours," said the Hobbit, too surprised to ask any questions for the moment. When the silence that followed had become uncomfortable, he added, "I am just about to take tea. Pray come and have some with me?" A little stiff perhaps, but he meant it kindly. "And what would you do if an uninvited dwarf came and hung his things on your hall without a word of explanation?" They had not been at the table for long. In fact, they had hardly reached the third cake when there came another, even louder ring at the bell. "Excuse me," said the Hobbit, and off he went to the door. "So you've come at last." That was what he was going to say to Gandalf this time, but it was not Gandalf. Instead, there was a very old-looking dwarf on the step, with a white beard and scarlet hood, and he too hopped inside as soon as the door was open, just as if he had been invited. "I see they have begun to arrive already," he said when he caught sight of Dwalin's green hood hanging up. He hung his red one next to it. "And Balin at your service?" he said with his hand on his breast. "Thank you," said Bilbo with a gasp. It was not the correct thing to say, but they had begun to arrive had flustered him badly. He liked visitors, but he liked to know them before they arrived, and he preferred to ask them himself. And he had a horrible thought that the cake might run short, and that he, as the host, he knew his duty and stuck to it, however painful he might go without. "Come along in and have some tea," he managed to say, after taking a deep breath. "A little beer would suit me better, if it is all the same to you, my good sir," said Balin, with the white beard. "But I don't mind some seed cake, if you have any." "Lots," Bilbo found himself answering to his own surprise, and he found himself scuttling off too to the cellar to fill a pint of beer mug, and then a pastry to fetch 2 beautiful round seed cakes which he had baked that afternoon for his after-supper morsel. When he got back, Balin and Dwalin were talking at the table like old friends. As a matter of fact, they were brothers. Bilbo plumped down the beer and the cake in front of them, when loud came a ring at the bell again, and then another. Gandalf, for certain this time, he thought, as he puffed along the passage. But it was not. It was 2 more dwarfs, both with blue hoods, silver belts, and yellow beards, and each of them carried a bag of tools and a spade. They hopped as soon as the door began to open. Bilbo was hardly surprised at all. "What can I do for you, my dwarfs?" he said. "Kili at your service," said the one. "And Fili," said the other, and they both swept off their blue hoods and bowed. "At yours and your families," replied Bilbo, remembering his manners. "Dwalin and Balin are already here. Here already, I see," said Keeley. "Let us join the throng." "Throng?" thought Mr. Baggins. "I don't like the sound of that. I really must sit down for a minute and collect my wits, and have a drink." He had only just had a sip. In the corner, while the four dwarfs sat around the table and talked about mines and golds, troubles of the goblins, and the depredations of dragons, and lots of other things which he did not understand, and did not want to, for they sounded much too adventurous, when ding-dong-a-ling-ding, his bell rang again, as if some naughty little hobbit boy was trying to pull the handle off. "Someone at the door," he said, blinking. "Some four, I should say, by the sound," said Feely. "Besides, we saw them coming along behind us in the distance." The poor little hobbit sat down in the hall and put his head in his hands, and wondered what had happened, and was going to happen, and whether they would all stay to supper. Then the bell rang again louder than ever, and he had to run to the door, and it was not four after all, it was five. Another dwarf had come along while he was wandering in the hall. He had hardly turned the knob before they were all inside, bowing and saying, "At your service," one after another. Dory, Nori, Ori, Owen, and Glowin were their names, and very soon 2 purple hoods, a grey hood, and a brown hood, and a white hood were hanging on the pegs, and off they marched, with their broad hands stuck in their gold and silver belts, to join the others. Already it had almost become a throng. Some called for ale, and some for porter, and one for coffee, and all of them for cake, so the hobbit was kept very busy for a while. A big jug of coffee had just been set in the hearth, and seed cakes were gone, and the dwarfs were starting on a round of buttered scones, when there came a loud knock. Not a ring, but a hard rat-tat on the hobbit's beautiful green door. Someone was banging with a stick. Bilbo rushed along the passage, very angry, and although altogether bewildered. This was the most awkward Wednesday he ever remembered. He pulled open the door with a jerk, and they all fell in, one on top of the other. More doors, 4 more, and there was Gandalf behind, leaning on the staff and laughing. He had made quite a dent on the beautiful door. He had also, by the way, knocked out the secret mark he had put there the morning before. "Carefully, carefully," he said. It is not like you, Bilbo, to keep friends waiting at the mat, and then open the door like a pop-gun. Let me introduce Bifur, Boffer, Bomber, and especially Thorin." "At your service," said Bifur, Boffer, and Bomber, standing in a row. Then they hung up 2 yellow hoods, and a pale green one, and also a sky blue one with the long silver tassel. This one belonged to Thorin, an enormously important dwarf, in fact no other than the great Thorin Oakenshield himself, who was not as pleased at falling flat on Bilbo's mat, with Bifur, Boffer, and Bomber on top of him. Sorry, I have to laugh at that. Oh, but poor Mr. Baggins said he was sorry so many times that at last he grunted, "Pay no mind to it," and stopped frowning. That's so cute! Sorry. Yeah, I should probably end the episode before I squeal, because that was just, like, so funny and adorable. Just like, fine, it's okay. He grins. Anyways, please subscribe if you enjoyed this episode, and, please give it a like if you want more, and please comment down below if you have anything interesting to, for future videos, ideas. Peace.